I am the founder and CEO now of the company called Venus Media and PR. We're most famous for being the publishers of Enigma magazine, which is a glossy lifestyle magazine based in Cairo but distributed around the Middle East. We also do PR and events. We have an e-commerce site called Enigma Shopping. We had an Arabic magazine called Enigma Star, which will be soon launched again. I was born in Kuwait, but soon after, the family moved to Austria and then Washington, D.C. Well, from 10 to 17, I was in Washington, so my formative years were in the States. After that, I went to university in London. After graduation, I did some internships in Vogue and Marie Claire in London, and then I worked in Vogue US, and then I moved to Egypt and started the businesses. My dad was a great role model and a very high achiever, self-made. He got a scholarship to Harvard University and did his PhD there. And then he went to work in the Kuwait Fund. He was the founder of the OPIC Fund in Vienna. And then he was headhunted to become the senior vice president and international counsel of the World Bank. So he had very high standards for all of us. You know, he wanted us all to get A's and do really well. Achieving was a big deal in the family. My mom, also a high achiever. She started a bit later after she had me and my siblings. She did 2 masters and then went on to be an economist and a senior advisor at the International Monetary Fund in Washington. My sister's a federal prosecutor in New York. My brother's a partner at the Shalani law firm in Cairo, but based in New York right now. I was always the black sheep, the one who was creative. My dad was like, okay, you'll do what you want, but get a real degree, which in his terms was like to get a degree in something that if fashion design didn't work, that you could fall back on and get a real job with it. So I studied international relations at the London School of Economics. When I went to university, I made a deal with my dad that I would get a proper degree, that in my free time, I would take fashion design courses. So the first year, I used to take fashion design courses in the evening at London College of Fashion. And then I did a summer course in Florence for fashion design in Italian, which I found out when I got there. That kind of worked for the first year, being young and naive and not realizing how demanding university at LSE would be. So I did that the first year, and then I just had to focus on my studies after that. The second year, I did a year abroad at AUC, so obviously I couldn't continue the fashion design there. And then when I went back to London, it was super demanding, so I just had to focus on school, because also another condition of my dad's is what we had to get honors. So based on my first year's grades, I was nowhere near honored. So I really stepped it up, and alhamdulillah, I got the honors. And then immediately after I finished, that was the end of my link to international relations. I applied to internships at Vogue. Vogue was always my dream magazine. When I was young, I used to literally read every page of Vogue, like including the captions. That was like my hobby. Luckily, I got an internship at Vogue London, but it was in the events department. So I did that for a couple months. Then I did an internship with Marie Claire in the fashion department. That was a great experience. And then I had to leave the UK because I didn't have a work permit. So I decided I would go to the US because my parents were still there. But I didn't want to go back to Washington where my parents were. So I went to see my cousin in New York, and it was supposed to be a visit, but I knew that I was staying, but my parents didn't. Sorry, parents. I applied to Condé Nast, which is the publishers of Vogue, but they have many other magazines. When you go there, you apply to the Human Resources Department, and they ask you, what's your ideal magazine and what else are you interested in? So I told them, I really want to be at Vogue, but, I'll take any of the others. They have like a million other magazines. They were like, okay, that's a long shot, but we'll put it down. A week and a half later, I get a call from the HR department, and they're like, we have a position at Self, which is like a health magazine. I did the interview. I didn't get it, so I was really like demotivated. They were like, okay, we'll call you back if there's anything else. But I didn't think that was real. And then 2 weeks later, they called me back, and they said, there's a position at Vogue, but we can't tell you what the position is. So I came in, I did an interview, called me back, I came in, did a second interview, then I came in, did a third interview. All this time, they're not telling me who I'm interviewing for. The fourth interview, they're like, okay, you're now gonna meet Anna Wintour. You're interviewing for a position of assistant to the editor-in-chief. I was like, oh my God. Of course, I was like mortified. I go to the interview and I meet Anna, who is expressionless the entire interview. But I think it's her interviewing style. I made one major mistake. She was asking me about photographers that I admired, and I said Helmut Lang instead of Helmut Newton. And she corrected me right away on that. But otherwise, I had no idea how it went. I think a few days later, they called me, and I got the job, which of course was a complete dream come true, but you know, it turned out not to be as fun and games as I expected. If any of you saw the movie The Devil Wears Prada, you know that Anna has two assistants, a senior one and a junior one. For some reason, they put me in the senior one because I had a proper degree. I think the Vogue internship helped in London. But the person who got the junior one didn't go to college, but she went to secretary school. In the end, being an assistant to somebody of that level is being a really good secretary. I think she did a lot better than I did. I did it for about 11 months. It was a good experience, but it was very tough. Not because of Anna, but because of the environment. It is a very corporate New York fashion environment. It's tough. If you're not mature enough and old enough and street smart enough to get your way and not be pushed around, then it's a bit of a tough experience. Coming from a very sheltered upbringing and not really having experience in New York corporate fashion, that was a bit tough. It's a glamorous version of reality. As an assistant, you actually have to be in the office while Anna goes to the fashion shows in Paris and all that. So you're kind of holding the fort. You're not going on those trips, not in the first year, maybe after. So that was unrealistic. And you definitely don't go into the fashion closet and just come out wearing Chanel and whatever you want. You have no access to the fashion closet, that's for sure. My position was more booking all her meetings, going with her to some meetings, being in charge of the guest list or at events, picking up fur coats and gifts. I had to order breakfast and her lunch, but it was from the Royalton Hotel. It wasn't really Starbucks. What was great about Vogue is I grew up really fast. Number one, living in New York, you know, toughens you up in general. It's a tough city. And the working hours were really tough. But I learned about the overall magazine experience. Even though I wasn't actually in editorial, I saw everything going on, but I couldn't be a part of it. As somebody who is more creative than administrative, I had a very administrative position with all these tempting creative things around me that I couldn't do. So that was a bit frustrating. I also learned about office politics, all the kind of tripping up that can happen in a very competitive environment. Naively, after that experience, I was just like, I don't want to work for anybody again. I just want to do my own thing, you know? I think it was a extreme reaction. I would recommend to other people to get more experience. And especially if you're going to leave and move to a country you've never lived in, like Egypt, to start your own business, you know, try to get a bit more experience so you're a bit more prepared. The good thing about being young is you're overconfident. You think everything is easy. You think you know everything. And you make bold decisions. So I left Vogue. Everybody thought I was insane, including my parents. I decided to go to Egypt and try to do my own magazine with no magazine experience. I was fascinated by that name because when I moved to Egypt, everything to me was like a mystery. Like I didn't understand how the country worked. So I felt Enigma fit Egypt in that sense. And I also liked the idea that successful people are always described as enigmas. Like we uncover the enigmas, you know, like the secrets of people's success or success stories. And I like the fact that in Arabic, people can say Enigma and it means like star, Enigma. I felt like it works both English and Arabic. It was the vision of the dream coming true. It was different from Vogue because we had to adapt. I originally wanted to do a fashion magazine. And when I started Clio, that was the idea. But I soon learned that in a country where the fashion industry, especially at the time, was very, very nascent, you have to be more about people. So the magazine became more lifestyle, more people-oriented. And with Enigma, I wanted the focus to be a magazine that would be interesting for men and women and to write about real success stories, like from any different field that people would admire. When we started too, what was a real draw for the magazine was event pages. I think that's really what got us on the map at the beginning. We were the first magazine in Egypt to write about society and take pictures. And at a time when nobody had done that, that was a really big hype. And I think that led to our initial success, at least. I didn't grow up here. I was labeled as westernized. My Arabic wasn't great at the time, and I was really young. And so every time I went to a meeting, everybody would be like, Ida, it's you? Like, I thought you'd be older, or I thought you'd be, there was always like a disappointment. So I had to work double as hard and really go out a lot at the beginning. I remember I used to go to maybe 4 events at night, go to whatever I was invited to, go by myself, introduce myself to people. A lot of people were like, okay, who is this person? I just had to do it. I had been really toughened up and I became independent, and that was an easy thing to do. I think you have to continuously learn. You have to become a very good team leader because you're only as good as your team. Also, as to the amount of loyalty you can generate in your team. If they don't have the same passion and loyalty to the brand that you do, it will show sooner or later. You have to also learn to adapt. It's all about, at least for what we're trying to do, building the brand. That's why our events are so important, because it's very important that people can feel the brand, interact with the brand, see it come to life, The more they believe in the brand, I think the more connected and loyal they will be to the brand as readers. I think I should have stayed at Vogue longer, gotten a bit more experience. I should have had a more active partner. Like, I had investors. I didn't have an active business partner. And because I'm stronger in the creative side, maybe it would have been better to have a day-to-day business, pro with me. I think we would have probably made less errors. But then again, I didn't know anybody to make when I moved here that I could have made my business partner, I guess, in that way. So not too many regrets, actually, because, you have to make the best of the cards you're dealt with. And to be honest, at that time, it didn't seem like a setback. Everything seemed like an opportunity. Every obstacle was just looked at like a small hurdle, and we're just going to get over it. Hopefully inspire the people that have worked with me, especially the women, because at the time everybody treated me like I was so unusual to be trying to do my own business. So I hope that I've shown other women that no, you can, you don't need to have experience. You just have to believe in yourself and what you want to accomplish, and don't listen to what people tell you. People will always underestimate you. You have to prove yourself, and sometimes you have to be your biggest fan or your only fan and just keep going. I hope that I can continue to be part of that circle and inspire others. If we all can do that, then we will all have done something great in our lives and our careers. I was very close to my grandmother. She was in hospital and sick from end of July to November 30th when she passed away. Spending time with her and taking care of her in those months felt to me like the most important thing I've ever done. Like, I was able to give back to somebody that had given me so much. But also on the professional side, when we put together the Kylie Minogue event at the Pyramid, which everybody told me would not be possible, we ended up raising $1.5 million for that one night, which now seems crazy because we'd never be able to do that again. And we built the entire structure in 8 days. Seeing that come to life after a year in the making was one of the biggest accomplishments, I think. I'd love at this point to join like a Condé Nast or a big international media company, because in this environment, it's tough being like a sole player. And we really have so many dreams internationally and things we want to do abroad, especially events-wise. So if somebody called me and told me, so-and-so would like to partner with you or put you on their platform, that would be sort of a dream call, I guess. Believe in yourself, be passionate, be determined. Don't believe what society tells you. If you're lucky enough to have parents that encourage you, that's great. But if they don't, find motivation elsewhere. There's now great things online, amazing books that can inspire you, other people's stories. Believe that you can do everything you want, like personally and professionally, even though it might be a challenge at times. Most women find a way. So don't think it's a choice. Be passionate, work hard, and make the most of it.
Vogue.